In America, you got the Nielsen. In Japan, it's typically video research. The point is, we're talking ratings, bro. And I'm kickstarting this series with Dragon Ball. I would like to thank Kanzenshu as all the data I'm using for the episodes comes from their website. So big thanks in advance. Episode 110 would be the lowest rated episode of Dragon Ball, airing May 4th, 1988. The rating share came out at a 13.7, which is still higher than the highest rated episodes for Dragon Ball Kai and Dragon Ball Super. But there's a massive disparity for why this is the case, which I'll explain in a future video, as part of this video series. This episode adapted chapters 144 and 145, which came out September 29th and October 6th of 1987, respectively. Again, the animation was supervised by Mitsuo Shindo. The episode was storyboarded by Satoru Kusuda and directed by Daisuke Nishio. Here's the recap of the episode. Goku is literally in the middle of his first fight with Piccolo after just hitting him with the Kamehameha, which Piccolo no-sold. Piccolo ends up defeating Goku and even stopping his heart, and takes his Dragon Ball, but Goku survives and heads to Karin Tower with Yajirobe, otherwise known as Yajirobe in the dub. Kame Sennin, Tenshinhan, and Chaozu have found the 5th Dragon Ball, but Piccolo is headed their way. Kame Sennin's group hides their Dragon Ball in a different location and prepare for Piccolo's arrival. Piccolo swallows the Dragon Balls in his possession, and Kame Sennin incapacitates Ten and calls off the plan they had made. And the episode ends with a face-off between the Muten Roshi and Demon King Piccolo. This episode comes off of episode 109, where Goku blasts Piccolo with a Kamehameha. So what was the reason for such a low rating in this episode? You could say it's because Goku nearly died and maybe parents didn't want their kids seeing that. Thanks to Toriyama's chapter notes for chapter 173 of Dragon Ball, which came out May 2nd of 1988, just 2 days before this episode, and only 6 days after chapter 172 as opposed to the usual 7 days, Toriyama pointed out that it was Golden Week in Japan. Golden Week in Japan spans from April 29th to May 5th every year. One of Japan's biggest weeks for celebration, meaning there was a bunch of holidays and people could have been watching something different. Kids would have been free from school during that week, so they would have been out in festivals with their parents, prepping for Children's Day later that week. And the ratings around this time help my belief, as they're at an 18.8 for episode 109 the week before, and in the weeks leading to episode 110, they were hovering around a 20, then just all of a sudden dropped to a 13.7 the week of Golden Week, and all that just for the ratings to rise to a 16.3 the week after. To be fair, after this point, the ratings overall would just seem to take a noticeable dip from the usual 20s it would get before, up until around episode 132, which was the episode right before the 23rd Budokai began airing. These rating dips during Golden Week for every Dragon Ball series to this day match up very closely and consistently to what I've been saying. Dragon Ball Kai, for example, began airing a month before Golden Week, but episode 5, which premiered May 3rd, 2009, had a rating share of 8.8, which was a noticeable drop from the 11.1 the week prior to Golden Week, which it aired, only to go up to a 9.1 the week after Golden Week. So maybe when you combine just how dark the Piccolo arc was overall, combined with the challenge of airing Dragon Ball during Golden Week, parents probably didn't want their kids being exposed to that level of violence. Plus, assuming kids read the manga, they would have known what would have happened, or they could have waited after Golden Week was over to see another airing of this episode later on. But also, episode 111 would have recapped episode 110 as well, so it's not the worst thing. Here's something fun. The highest rated episode of Dragon Ball is 47. The highest rated episode of Dragon Ball Super is also 47. The lowest rated episode for Dragon Ball is 110. Likewise, the lowest rated episode for Dragon Ball Super is also 110. And that's been the highest and lowest rated episodes of Dragon Ball.